Sarah sat alone at the corner table, her fingers wrapped around a cooling cup of tea. 42 years old, and still showing up to blind dates arranged by well-meaning friends. She checked her phone again. 30 minutes late. He wasn't coming. She should have known better. This was the third time in 6 months. Maybe it was time to accept that some women just weren't meant to find love. She reached for her purse, ready to leave, when two small voices broke through her disappointment. "Excuse me, are you our mom?" Sarah looked up to find two little girls standing beside her table. They couldn't have been more than 6 or 7 years old. One had dark hair pulled back with a pink clip, the other blonde and smiling. Both wore matching pink sweaters that seemed far too expensive for a casual Tuesday afternoon. "I'm sorry, sweethearts, but I'm not your mother," Sarah said gently. "Are you lost? Where are your parents?" The dark-haired girl tilted her head thoughtfully. "We're not lost. We live just down the street. But we've been watching you through the window for a while now, and you look exactly like what a mom should look like." Sarah's heart squeezed. "That's very sweet. But surely you have a mother of your own?" The blonde girl shook her head, her smile fading just a little. "Our mama died when we were babies. We don't remember her. Daddy says she was beautiful and kind, just like you look." Before Sarah could respond, a man's voice called out from the entrance. "Emma, Lily, what have I told you about running off?" He rushed over, clearly flustered, and Sarah found herself looking at a man in his late 30s, dressed in a business suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. But it was his eyes that caught her attention. They were tired, worried, and filled with the kind of exhaustion that came from carrying too much alone. "I'm so sorry," he said, placing protective hands on each girl's shoulder. "They slipped away from our driver. I hope they didn't bother you." "They didn't bother me at all," Sarah assured him. "They're lovely girls." Emma, the dark-haired one, looked up at her father. "Daddy, can she have coffee with us?" She was sitting all alone, and nobody should be alone. That's what you always tell us. The man, whose name Sarah would soon learn was David, looked embarrassed. "Emma, we can't just invite strangers to—" "Actually," Sarah interrupted, surprising herself, "I'd like that very much, if it's not too much trouble." Something shifted in David's expression. Relief, perhaps, or recognition of a kindred loneliness. They moved to a larger table, and over the next hour, Sarah learned their story. David had built his software company from nothing, working endless hours to provide for his daughters after his wife passed away from cancer. The girls had everything money could buy, except the one thing they wanted most, a mother's love. "We have 3 nannies," Lily explained seriously, "but they don't read bedtime stories the right way. They always rush through the endings." Sarah smiled. "The ending is the most important part. That's where you find out if the characters lived happily ever after." "Exactly," Emma exclaimed. "That's exactly what we told Daddy." David watched Sarah with his daughters, seeing something he hadn't seen in years. His children were truly happy, animated, alive, not just entertained or supervised, but genuinely joyful. "So what brings you here on a Tuesday afternoon?" he asked carefully. Sarah hesitated, then decided on honesty. "A blind date that never showed up. Story of my life. Really, I've been told I'm too quiet, too simple, too ordinary for most men to notice." "Then they're fools," David said simply. The weeks that followed changed everything. What started as a casual coffee became weekly dinners, then weekend park visits, then movie nights with the girls. Sarah taught Emma and Lily how to bake cookies, how to braid hair, how to talk about their feelings when they missed their mother. David watched his daughters blossom, and somewhere along the way, he found himself falling in love. 6 months later, on another Tuesday afternoon, David brought Sarah back to that same coffee shop. Emma and Lily were with their grandmother this time, giving him privacy for what he needed to say. You know what I realized? David began, holding Sarah's hand across the table. That day when the girls asked if you were their mom, they knew something I was too blind to see. Sometimes the people we're meant to find aren't the ones we're looking for. Sometimes they're sitting alone at a coffee shop, waiting for someone who doesn't deserve them, while the family who needs them most is right outside the window. He pulled out a small velvet box. I'm not a man who believes in fate, Sarah. I built my life on logic and hard work, but my daughter saw something in you that I needed to learn. They saw home. Will you marry me? Will you be the mother they've been searching for, and the partner I didn't know I needed? Sarah's tears fell freely. Yes, she whispered. Yes to all of it. The next week, they returned to the coffee shop with Emma and Lily. This time, Sarah wasn't sitting alone. This time, she was surrounded by the family she'd always dreamed of, one that had found her when she'd almost given up hope. See, Daddy? Emma said proudly. I told you she was our mom. We just had to help you see it too. David pulled them all close, his once empty life now overflowing with love. And Sarah, who'd spent so many years believing she was too ordinary to be chosen, finally understood that to the right people, ordinary was extraordinary. Sometimes the best love stories don't begin with a perfect first date. Sometimes they begin with two little girls in pink sweaters who know exactly what their family needs.